talk to Larry Harris. How about that?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Can't wait.
The assistant general manager of the Golden State Warriors, kind enough to join us here on Willard and Dibs. Larry is in for Dibs, and the other Larry is on with us right now. That's Larry Harris. Hey, Larry, how you doing?
I'm good, and I promise I'm going to say nice things to you about you guys.
All right? But
if we ever golf, I'll be that guy that you'll want to actually be on your team with.
Yeah, you might not feel that way when we're done with you. Boy, do we have we got some questions for you today. Let me tell you.
Right now we're undefeated, so I like our conversation.
That's a good point. Listen, hey, Larry, you know what everybody talks about whenever a big name joins a team, and that is how do you blend the egos? So first off, how much do you think about that in general when you're acquiring a player, and how do you think it applies to the acquisition you guys have just made?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is it comes back to our core. I really believe that our three Hall of Famers, along with Kevon Looney and Wiggins, but particularly the three Hall of Famers and Kevon, they're past the stats and all the accolades. It's all about winning. I mean, if you saw our last championship, it was probably the hardest one to get, and I think it was the most emotional. So, acquiring somebody like Chris, it really was not a hard task for our stars when we reached out to them and to kind of get their input into the situation with Chris, that they're all about winning. So I don't think, though each great player has an ego, I think ours are all in check and really focused on one thing, which is winning.
It's good to hear, Larry. Good to talk to you. And Jordan, Jordan and Chris are different players. How do you think that second unit is going to look different with Chris, since he's such a facilitator and he's such a mid-range sniper compared to Poole?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, look, until we get to camp, depending on what Steve's going to do with the starting lineup, but I think let's just put Chris on the floor, whether that's as a starter or coming off the bench. I think the one thing is that he brings, which is stability, some leadership, accountability. And I think he's been a guy that wherever he's been, the teams have always gotten better. And I think the two things that are probably the most important is we seem to turn the ball over at an alarming rate last year and in the years past. I think adding him and a Corey Joseph type will help us in that, with that stat in particular. But I think the most important thing is he's just going to bring, I think, a different way of scoring, if it is in the second unit, or how Steve's going to approach our game offensively. Where in the past, I even think Steph said it after, our loss to the Lakers, was we became predictable. And I think with Chris, I think he'll use the word unlock. It seems to be like a cliche term, but I think he's going to help our younger guys as well, whether he's playing with them or just, whether that's JK, whether that's Moses, whether that's Andrew. But also the rookies as well, if they get an opportunity to play.
Larry Harris, the assistant GM of the Warriors, is with us here on Willard and Dibs, and it's Larry Krueger in for Dibs. Larry, one thing we've heard Mike Dunleavy say repeatedly is flexibility. He's talked a lot about the flexibility that it provides, and we all know about this new second apron with the new rules and the CBA going into play. How will that change the way you guys acquire players going forward? Like, how many high-priced players can be on a team?
Yeah, I think it's a little unknown right now. Certainly, the second apron is something that every team is talking about, not only just us or the Clippers or Brooklyn, the teams that have been, people that have been in the luxury tax for a number of years. So I just think it's gotten to the point with the new CBA that everybody knows it's very punitive. We're certainly aware of that. And though Joe in the past, as you guys well know and our fans, is willing to pay whatever it is to put a championship team out there, I would just say the flexibility that Mike's speaking to is that, based on our current roster, if we'd have just run it back with our same guys, we were going to have to make some changes, regardless whether we win another championship or not. But I think the one thing that this does allow us to do in acquiring Chris is maybe to keep him beyond this next season. Gives us the ability to look at different things that we probably would have been a little under the gun to do something maybe at the trade deadline that we don't have to do going into next season.
I like the addition of Saric. I think him in the pick and pop game is going to be really fun to watch. How did you watch this game so close? How was he different pre and post ACL, and what do you expect he'll look like this year? Yeah,
I will say this, that obviously Draymond was the number one priority going into free agency, and we're able to get that done quite quickly once the doors open for free agency. But I would say that Mike and our staff, especially Mike, that was the second call that he made was to Dario and his agency about, hey, we need this particular type of player. And then I think as a front office, even before Bob left, the one thing that we knew we needed this summer was a stretch big. I mean, whether that was Belly or Otto Porter, we've just, the way we play, we need to space the floor. And I think the one thing we recognized on the championship team was having a threat out there that you have to guard. And I think Dario, since a full year from the injury and everything, I think he started getting his legs towards the end of the year. Chris was very high on him. Draymond was very high on him. And I just think he adds an IQ, a toughness, an ability to make shots, but also the ability to pass and just know how to play. And I think he's going to find it a lot easier to score on our team. And I think we're going to appreciate even more what we think we're going to get. I think we're going to actually get a little bit more once he gets in the fray of what it looks like to play in our system.
Larry, is there or are there more acquisitions to come? And, without giving up names, what type of player might you still be looking for?
Yeah, I think a couple things. I think the one thing, we went into free agency thinking we were going to sign 3 guys. We certainly reached out to a number of players, Dario being one, Corey Joseph being another. We were able to acquire those guys. And I think what Mike's decided to do is kind of put a little bit of a pause on that, with 2 more roster spots potentially open for us, just to see how many more trades are out there. I mean, it just seems, there's so much activity in the league right now. I don't think there are certain teams, and you guys know, you read all the social media. There's probably more trades to be done, and, you got certain teams that have over 15 guaranteed contracts. So I think we're open to just see what's going to be left out there for us. But I could see where if somebody pops and it's somebody that we really like, that we've targeted, that we add as a 13th, as a 14th roster spot. But other than that, I think we'll keep it open. I think with the 2-way spots, I think we had some success with Ty and Anthony last year, and so I think one of the things is we're looking for in that 2-way spot is trying to find a big guy, somebody that just has an ability to maybe step on the floor in case they're, Draymond or Kevon, need to sit out, or there's a slight injury along the way, that we just feel like we probably need another big guy in there, and maybe that 2-way will satisfy it.
We're talking to Larry Harris, Warriors assistant GM, stopping by on 95.7 The Game. Trace Jackson Davis, I really love that acquisition. You got him at 57. I thought he'd go like 27. Can't believe he was even there. But he's got a nice skill set. What do you think he'll be able to contribute right away as far as he's not going to play a lot of minutes, but is it his shot blocking that you like, his passing ability, his rebounding? There's a lot there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the 2 things that I think will translate right away that has the ability possibly to get him on the floor as a rookie a few minutes is obviously his ability to pass. I think that's probably the one thing that he can really do, and rebound the basketball. For our big guys, there's not a lot of shots for them. Unless you're a spacing guy that can shoot the ball like Dario can. So I think he's going to be in a Kevon Looney role where he's going to be a screen setter. He's going to be a guy that can play out of the mid-post pass, learn from Draymond, learn from Kevon. But I think that, again, having an older guy, a guy that I think Steve, depending on matchups and stuff and foul trouble, he could be in a position where he could play 8 to 10 minutes on the floor, because I think, at 6'9", 6'10", and 250, 260, physically he can put himself in a game, and he did it in college, and I just think there's a little bit more offense than people think, but his passing and rebound are going to translate for us.
Larry Harris, the assistant GM of the Warriors, is with us here on 95.7 The Game. Larry, is the future of Klay Thompson something that will be addressed this offseason at all, or no?
You know what? I think, like Draymond, they're all the same in the sense that we all want them to retire as Warriors. So obviously he's on the last year of his contract. I don't know, where those talks are and so on and so forth as far as, the future and where it goes with him. But I can tell you this, that our intentions are to have him here, retire here, and put another statue up there besides Steph and Draymond as well. So I anticipate, depending on how the season goes, that everything, if it lines up, that he'll continue to be a Warrior for a long time.
Podziemski almost had a triple-double the other day, 10, 10, and 9 for Podziemski. What did you think of him watching him at Santa Clara? And then, obviously, what have you thought of his performance thus far in the Summer League? Yeah,
well, the first thing is he brings a toughness and confidence that he believes in himself. When he said that he's going to get a triple-double, he literally believes that. And whether some people would say, well, kind of slow your roll a little bit, that's a little, maybe that's a little ahead of yourself. But I will tell you this, his IQ is great. His ability to see the floor and pass, I think everybody sees that he could be a point guard, which is why we drafted him. I think in Summer League, I think you've seen that he's checking a lot of boxes in the box score. I know he wants to shoot a little bit better. What's ironic is one of the reasons we drafted him outside of his ability to rebound, which he's obviously done in the Summer League, did in college, was the ability to shoot the ball. Now, he's not shooting it nearly as well from the line or from the field in Summer League, but I think he's impacting the game at both ends, and I think more of a space floor. If he's playing with our better players, I think he's going to find the game a little bit easier. Right now, it seems to be he's playing a lot in a crowd and trying to do some things offensively that I think it'll open up once he gets to play with the real players.
Larry, a couple other names, not rookies, but I know people would love to know sort of what chances they have to be a part of the team this year and contribute. Guy Santos, Lester Quinones, what do you foresee this year?
Yeah, I'd say Guy's probably been our biggest surprise. He certainly got better as the year went on in the G League, and I thought towards the last third of the season he was one of our better players down there. Having said that, he's probably been our most consistent player throughout all the, whether it's in Sacramento or down here in Las Vegas. Now, Lester's had some really good scoring moments, but I think Guy's done a really good job at both ends. Again, he's a long-term play for us. I don't think it's been finally set what we're going to be doing with him going into next season. I would anticipate for the fans to think that he'll be back in Santa Cruz with us because we have more of a long-range plan for him. And so I don't know if that's a roster spot today, but I think the fans can be excited that there's a chance for him down the road to make our roster for sure. As far as Lester goes, he's a guy that, obviously has been up and down on the two-way with us, finished the season with us. We like him. Can really shoot the ball, has obviously gotten a lot better. We like the fact that we can put the ball in his hands, tried to play him a little bit of point guard the last third of the season in Santa Cruz. Thought he did a good job with that. Again, I think something's going to hopefully transpire here, whether that's a two-way with an opportunity to make the roster this year, but I would anticipate he'll be in training camp with us, once training camp opens.
He has looked really, really good. One of my favorite players to watch is Kuminga. I loved when you guys drafted him. I thought second half of the year, Larry, he was really starting to come into his own. And then he got to the playoffs, and he kind of showed his relative rawness, and Steve sat him down. What did Steve not like about what Jonathan was providing in the playoffs, and where is he in his development? How much better do you think he can get?
Well, I think with Steve, like anything else, when you get to the playoffs, it's really a trust factor, and it's really like who can help me right now, and the rotation's shortened. So obviously getting Gary healthy and playing, and then obviously Andrew coming back healthy and playing. Those two things really, I think, factored in to Jonathan not playing as much, and again the shorten the rotation in the playoffs. I would say this, that we still feel like there's a lot more to his game. I think he's got to mature as a player. Hopefully the addition with Chris will help. But also I think there's a clearer path for him now. We obviously had some players on the roster last year that kind of impeded a little bit of his progress. We identified that this year in free agency and just kind of decided that, adding Dario is a different look, and we think that Dario can play with JK, and we have more players now that we think we can put JK in different positions to help us. So his growth is shooting the ball better, which he did when he got that opportunity the last third of the season. But it is just his game maturing at both ends of the floor. And really, Steve having faith and trust in him that when he puts him in the game, he knows what he's going to do. He understands our system. And so I think it's a big year for him personally, and obviously for us in an evaluation to just see how much growth he does have still left in his game, which we believe is quite a bit.
Larry, we saved the most important question for last. Are you ready?
I'm ready for it.
All right. Well, have you been over to this?
Tough.
Yeah,
it's been really tough. I want you to know.
Yeah, I told you. It's just a big old
grilling.
It's a grind with you guys every time I'm on.
You are barbecue chicken right now. I bet. But no, have you been over to this Sphere? What the hell's going on out there in Vegas?
It's hot.
Well, sure. Yeah, but have you seen this thing? Did you go over to it?
Yeah, you know what? It's really more impressive at night when they have the ball and everything. I have not physically been over there, checked it out, but it looks impressive from a distance. I wish I could give you more intel on that. It's been more in the gym and just trying to put our roster together. So I don't have a lot of great intel on that. So if I failed the interview here in our conversation, I apologize for that. So I don't have a lot of sphere influence right now.
Yeah, well, no, listen, if you guys are done scouting players, then it's time to scout things like this for us, if you would, please.
Yeah, you know what? Let me get back to you on that, if that's okay.
Sure. Do you think it's weird, though, that Larry Krueger, as of 2 hours ago, hadn't even heard of this thing? Don't you think that's odd?
Well, you know what? He doesn't, he stays in his lane. I mean,
there you go.
I assume he uses you to give him that kind of intel.
Yeah, well, he doesn't just stay in his lane. Apparently, he stays in his home.
Mark's my advance man. He's doing my advance work. Hey, Larry, I got one last one for you. I know you got to jump, but obviously, the room was changed around going into the draft process. Did you find your voice louder in the room because you are probably the most experienced basketball evaluator in the group? I mean, you guys have had Jerry West, you've had Schlink, you've had lots of voices in the past, maybe some even more experience than yourself. You might be the most experienced voice right now.
Well, I would say this. I don't think my role did not change, obviously, with Bob leaving. I think the biggest thing was I think everybody's voice kind of stepped up a little bit, whether that was Kirk, Kent Lacob, obviously Mike having more of a presence as being the general manager. And it's always been a collective. I know it sounds kind of cliche-ish, but they give me the role of kind of orchestrating how we're gonna approach the draft and things we talk about. But when it comes down to it, there's 6 or 7 of us that sit in a room and decide kind of what direction we're going to go with not just the draft, but also how it impacts free agency and trades and so on and so forth. So I wouldn't say my voice was any more important than it has been in the past, but I can say that I think they get tired of hearing my voice for 4 or 5 days straight. I can tell you that.
Well, Larry, enjoy the rest of the time there, man. We really appreciate your insight and coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me. I will get back to you on the sphere. Okay?
Please. Please, yeah. We need some firsthand knowledge.
That's the most important question you asked me, and I couldn't deliver. Raymond pretty much gives me all the answers to the test, but he didn't give me the sphere one. He didn't prepare me for that.
Is it true that Trace Jackson Davis can palm the sphere?
You know what? Let me find that out. But I know he's got huge hands, so there's a possibility.
There you go.
There's a possibility.
No
if
doubt.
Not him, then it could be Victor.
Larry, thanks, man.
All right. Anytime.
Thanks, Larry.
You guys
Okay,
take care.
there it is. That's Larry Harris, assistant GM of the Warriors, joining us right here on 95.